you? How are you doing?
Doing good, my friend.
Look what I got for the wallpaper. Can you see it?
Yeah, I see it. Looks great.
I've been doing these podcasts everywhere, and since we're home with Corona, or doing Zoom calls, I should say, I'm sick of every room. I've even been doing outside, backyard, by the pool. I've gone to gyms. But I said, I got to put this up for you, the wallpaper here, when you obviously became a pro. All righty. What's going on, my man? How you doing?
Doing good with the Corona, staying home, but trying to keep busy best I can.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've seen like my videos on Facebook. I post a couple times a week.
Yeah.
It's me to keep in touch with, some of my clients who I'm friends with on Facebook so they can do it, or whoever wants to. So keep me busy in that aspect.
Yeah, I want to go through a bunch of stuff with you, actually, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I like having all different types of people related to fitness. It could be bodybuilders, powerlifters, someone like yourself, PNBA Pro, somebody who's a triathlete, somebody who runs just marathons, whatever the case may be, because everyone has a different perspective on fitness. And I think people that want to work out, lose weight, gain muscle, whatever the case may be, need to find that. And it can be anything I talk about all the time. It may not be at a gym. It may be rock climbing, hypothetically. It could be running. It could be cycling. It could be crew, or it can be whatever you want it to be regarding fitness, I think, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's kind of, well, first, I don't know if I kind of remember a lot about you, a lot more than probably you would think, because I first made a film called Sore Losers, and your dad was in that.
Yes.
He played like a gangster guy. And you were young, in your teens. And then your dad was telling me about you wanting to be involved with film or theater. So I had you in my second film, Insanity, actually. I had you play a reporter, correct?
Yes, you did. I remember that.
And you were, for the most part, I think you liked fitness, but you didn't get to where you're at now, obviously. Or you weren't thinking, I think, at that point in time to where you've gone to, right?
Not really. At that time, I had all I did was just work out, and that was it. Nothing had struck me as far as like maybe considering it as a profession down the road. It was just me wanting to stay in shape as best I could at that time, definitely. So, I was at one point thinking about going to the acting field, but then health and fitness really became more and more, became my hobby, but then it became more of my passion and maybe pursuing it as a profession, which I'm currently doing now.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember even one time in the basement at my Uncle Mike and Aunt Barb's, because they have a whole full workout center. You went down there. We would work out, me and you.
Yeah,
and
we did.
I remember you telling me as a young boy, though, you were overweight, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, what happened? I'll go back right to the beginning. This all started with me when beginning of my 8th grade year, 13 years old, or going to be 13. I'm 5'8" now, but at the time I was 5 foot tall, but weighed 155. And I was like literally 35, 40 pounds overweight. And, it got to the point where I was barely fitting into my school desk, beginning of my 8th grade year. I was getting out of control. And it wasn't because I was eating bad food or junk food all the time. My problem was just eating just too much of everything.
Portion control.
My portioning was never discussed or controlled or anything. I just, ate. So I looked in the mirror one day. It was like a month into the school year. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to high school next year. I got to make a change. I just can't do this no more. I can't. I'm sick of it. I've gone 5 years battling with weight problems, not be able to I couldn't wear jeans for 3 years. That's how bad it was. I was getting to that point. So told my parents, mainly them, that, I'm going to try to go on a diet and lose weight and this and that. And at the time, 12 years old, what do you know? You don't know much. I just knew the basics. I figured if I run every day, sit-ups, push-ups, cut back on junk food, that's a start. So October of 99, I weighed 155. June of 2000, I was 114.
Wow.
I got very, very fixated with it. I was running a couple miles every day, sit-ups. I was I got the 600 crunches a night in my bedroom before I went to bed, every single night. And throughout the year, you know, all my friends at school were like looking at me like he's changing. Like every couple of weeks, they see a change, and people thought I was sick.
Right.
Because I didn't tell no one about it. So, you know, then your family, obviously, we saw them all the time, and everyone was like, "What is going on here?" And then I finally told them what I was doing, and they just couldn't believe the change every time. And no one, by the end of the year, no one recognized me. I barely recognized myself.
Yeah,
that way.
You've definitely evolved and changed over the years incredibly.
Yeah.
Did you do that for, just out of curiosity, did you do that because you wanted to do something more athletic? Did you do it because you wanted to get more attracted to women? Did you do it at that age? Because this is even before the internet phase, right? You're talking, we got to say this. So really the only thing me and you used to look at, let's go back, this is the 90s.
Yeah, this is late 90s, early 2000s. This was before even social media really existed.
Right. What made, you know, a lot of people do things because they want attention on social media. Back then, this was just something you privately went through.
Yeah. You know, like I said, it was just more of a personal thing for myself. I was just truly sick of how I was looking physically. You know, my goals at the time was just to, you know, when you're a kid, you know, you think being skinny is in shape. You know, I just wanted a flat stomach. I wanted to just look, you know, better than what I was, but didn't really know that I can really even do that until actually starting it. And, you know, so my goals were at the time was just to lose all that weight, but, you know, to get attention from, you know, girls played a part of it, you know, being a kid, you know, you think, you know, you want, it was partly attention, but not in the egotistical way, but more of just like, oh, wow, like look at what he's done. And also to improve my athletics, my endurance, my strength. Cause, you know, I couldn't even do a pull-up until at the end of my 8th grade year. I was able to do, you know, 10 pull-ups before I could barely do one. So it was a lot of things like that. But then, you know, it just slowly evolved as time went on.
Were you getting bullied at all or anything, Ronnie, back then? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, especially in elementary school, you know, kids like to pick on people because of things like that. And with me, it was because of my weight. And, you know, I didn't have the self-esteem or the confidence to really, like, you know, respond back in a good way. So I would just, you know, keep it to myself. So I was very, you know, people don't realize when one is overweight, it really can affect you socially and emotionally. So I would keep it to myself. I would just go home and just be quiet about it, you know. So it took a toll on me during that time period for sure. So that's why I woke up that one morning. I'm like, you know what? I just snapped out of it. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do something about it. I don't care what I got to do. I'm going to succeed one way or another. And, you know, that was like the first step, the first phase of my journey.
Right. I think, Ronnie, a lot of us too, growing up in an Italian household, I talk about it, where food is such a important aspect of our lives. And and they look at things as overeating is healthy. I know this sounds crazy, or being overweight is being healthier than thin.
Yeah.
Like even when I was up to like 240, 250 pounds, my family loved that I ate like an animal and that I was big and heavy. And then, like you said, as you get thinner, they think you're sick. It's kind of,
my grandmother, you took the words out of my mouth. My grandmother, you know, when she saw me, you know, losing weight for the first time, she was so worried, thought I was ill. I'm like, no, I'm just trying to get healthier. And like you said, the old fashioned Italian mentality, especially with the grandparents, they think, you know, the more you eat, you know, you're healthy. They think if you're thin or not as big as they think you should be, there's a problem, when it's the other way around. So.
Yeah. And I think as young men, I can speak for myself. I think for a lot of my friends and family, everybody, that you kind of want to catch up to your dad a little bit. You know, when you're younger and your teens, like, look what your dad's eating. Eat like they're feeding you the same portion. Say you're 12 years old, they're giving you the same portion as your father. And you want to almost, you know, you kind of fall into the rhythm of being a man and eating a lot of food, especially in an Italian household. And before you know it, we lose portion control. We just want to keep eating. We've heard, especially somewhere like Chicago, I talk about it all the time, where we are truly programmed with a lot of unbelievable comfort foods in Chicago that are relatively inexpensive. But when we go to eat, we eat, you know, it's not just getting a beef. It's like, let's get a beef and a sausage this time. Let's not only get you know, let's get 2 hot dogs and a burger, or like it's excessive. That's what I kind of grew up with. And I think you kind of
Oh
grew up
yeah,
with it as well.
same. Oh yeah, pretty much same. You know, I was involved in sports growing up. I played soccer and baseball and everything, but unlike my brother, who he was naturally athletic, he never had an eating problem. He had much better metabolism than I did.
Yeah.
Even though I was playing sports and I was active, my eating habits overpowered that. There
Yes.
was, with me, someone, not to compare me to Joey, but like someone like him, he's got that gift where, he's at to try hard. He can just, get results, and he's a natural athlete, God bless him.
I get it.
Yeah. Me, I literally have to work my butt off to get to the shape that I'm in.
Yes.
I have to actually work for it, because if I were to let go, I can balloon back up again. But I don't mind the discipline of that. I actually enjoy, eating the way I do and doing what I got to do to look a certain way. For me, speaking for myself, I get to the point where I enjoy it. It's second nature to me now.
You
I've
love
been
the
doing
battle.
this now.
It's a battle.
Oh, I
You
love
it. You love the
I
challenge.
I've been doing this for over, we're talking 20 years now.
Right.
Doing what I've been doing now. And, every 5-10 years has been I've been changing differently and tweaking things, learning more things, because obviously you then learn as you get older, you learn more things.
Of course.
To work smarter, not harder as well.
Yeah.
So,
Ronnie, I was on the opposite end of what you were. So I was an athletic kid that constantly played sports. My mother and father were obsessed with sports as well. And I was, from 5 years old on, never stopped playing sports. And I was always shredded. But I was always a runt. I was the shortest, but thinnest, but one of the strongest. But I was always shredded, even through high school. Even when I went through and was playing a lot of tennis and wrestling and baseball, whatever the hell I was playing at that time, soccer, we'd play all different types of sports, basketball, pickup games. I always wanted to have more mass and be thick and not be shredded.
yeah.
And it was kind of interesting. A lot of other people wanted to be shredded. And even when I graduated high school at 135 pounds, I remember I was at spring break and I had like a 6-pack. I was almost getting an 8-pack. And I said, you know what? I don't like this look. I had my own insecurity issues. I wanted to be massive and big, and way more powerful, and just look like for me, I kept thinking I want to look like a football player, hypothetically, or a power lifter.
Yeah.
And I wasn't happy with my body, which, you see everybody seems sometimes, not everybody, but a lot of times people have a problem no matter what type of condition they're in. They think they're too thin, they're too fat, they're too whatever. And then I all of a sudden went, after like a year and a half, I went from like 150 pounds, I talk about it, to 220 pounds. I was still okay. I wasn't, my legs and arms have always been kind of shredded. But I started to get real heavy and big, and I love that. But the bigger I got, the worse I felt. So when I hit like 250 pounds, I felt horrible, but I loved the way I look. And believe me, it wasn't attractive. I still had like a 40-inch waist, practically 38, 40. But I was like finally a 54 coat. And my strength was off the chart. The only problem was I had absolutely no cardio, and I felt like I was going to have a heart attack. So,
yeah.
anyways, what I wanted to kind of get in with you is your journey, because I've talked about my bullshit all the time. So when I saw you again, you were in high school, I think, still, when I was seeing you starting to transition into what you transitioned into. So let's go after high school. Did you become a trainer immediately, or what were you doing?
No. After high school, I started at College of DuPage. I was going there.
COD.
I was working at Valley Toll Fitness in Schaumburg at the time.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
So when I graduated high school, I went from 114 freshman year in high school to about 185 when I graduated my senior year. So I was bulking up, hitting the weights, but then I thought to myself, once again, still not 100% educated with nutrition. I learned about nutrition shortly after high school. I thought, I can eat whatever I want now. I'm working out. It's all good now. So I was getting strength and getting bigger, but I was looking too smooth. I always wanted to have that cut look, the shredded look. Guys like, I'm sure I told you before, Stallone's one of my idols.
Yeah, of course.
That's the body that I always wanted to look like that. So when I started at Bally's, I met, the people I worked with. There were 4 particular people during the 4 years I was there. They taught me a lot of my education and nutrition from there before I even went to, major university. And I learned that 80% of it is your diet, is what you're eating.
Sure.
your nutrition bases on how you want to look. Whether you're trying to look like a power lifter, whether you're trying to look like a bodybuilder or a baseball athlete, you know, whatever it is, it's what you're eating, the calories you're eating, that's going to determine that. So
starts from the inside and works on to the out.
Exactly.
Not the outside in. Right. Gotcha.
So I was going into my second year of working there. My friend Ned, who was a trainer at Bally's, was working there. He was training for a competition. And he was, you know, in the off season, he looked in pretty good shape. You know, he kept himself good, but I noticed how, like, when he started training every couple of weeks, you know, he seems getting tighter and stronger and shredded. And I'm like, so by the time he did his show, I went to go see him. He was ripped as can be. I'm like, so I went and saw a show. I caught the bug. I'm like, we went to dinner with him afterwards. I'm like, okay, I'm in your hands. How do I do this? How do I get to look like this? And he got me on a regimen because I wanted to do my first show, or at least get the experience of it. Now, my first show was not intended for me to win or even place. That was just for experience and to get the experience of going through a strict diet, a strict regimen, what do I got to do, what I shouldn't do, what best for me not to do, things like that. And I started my diet at 185. I got down to 157 at like, my body fat was like about 5.5.
So Ronnie, real quick, this is a natural show because you're all natural.
All natural.
What type of show, if you want to be, because they may not know, because this, when people a lot of times think of show, they think of the Olympia.
This was my first show was this is through at the time and the NPC organization. It was at the time it was all just still bodybuilding for men, bodybuilding for women, and then women's like physique and bikini. So I did the bodybuilding.
Okay.
Men's physique wasn't really popular yet at that time, 2006. It wasn't really popular. So my first show, I didn't place, but I looked pretty good. I got some good results. I got shredded, but like I said, it was just my experience. Year later, you know, I maintained myself, trained harder. I took 3rd out of 5 guys the second show that I did. Looked better. My goal was always look better every time. Whether I place first or not, my goal was always to just look better each time.
Sure.
In what I did. So with bodybuilding, I did a total of like, I want to say maybe, let me think here, 6, 7, 9. I did about 6 shows in bodybuilding. Yeah, my best show was 2009. I took 2nd, and that's when I looked my best.
Okay.
And my last show was 2011, and then I took 3 years off. Just needed a break because I was doing one like every other, either once a year or every other year. I was getting burnt out.
Let me ask you a quick question between there, Ronnie. Why were you doing the shows? Because a lot of people got to realize if they're watching this, you know, I call them, some people like to work out to get a trophy or get a medal, right? Some people like to work out to lose weight, gain muscle. You're obviously working out to stay in great shape. What is why are you doing this? Because you're a smaller guy. It's not like you're going to go win Mr. Olympia or the Arnold Classic, right? And you're doing it all natural. Are you doing this now, doing these shows just to prove something to yourself? Or are you doing it for attention? What are you doing it for?
No, attention went out the window a long time ago.
Okay.
When I first started at, you know, 13, 14, yeah, it was for that. Now it's just more to myself to prove that, you know, I can still, with proper eating, natural supplements, training hard, I can get as shredded as I could as someone who was doing an Arnold Classic.
Gotcha.
That's the main thing why I do it.
Right.
So I took 3 years off, and I heard about physique. I heard it was becoming really popular now in the show circuit between Arnold and all the other organizations that are out there now. So I went to saw a friend of mine who was, I was not working on export at this time. A friend of mine who I was working with was competing for her first physique show. Went to support her out. One of the representatives from the organization, the PNBA, it was held in Chicago. I go there. There was a intermission, and this guy's looking at me. He's like, "Do you compete?" He just randomly asked me, "Do you compete?" Yeah, it's been a couple of years, but yeah, I used to compete. You know, you ever thought about competing in our organization? You know, we offer this and that. I'm like, well, talk to me more. What do you offer? We do bodybuilding. We also offer physique and this and that. I'm like, well, okay, well, let me think about it. About a week later, I talked to my friend who I work with. He's a trainer. He was like, you should do it, but can I make a suggestion? Go try Physique. You got good. You told me I have a good frame, but I don't have the biggest frame for bodybuilding.
Sure.
Even though I have, good muscle size and symmetry, my body overall would probably be better for a Physique look, like California V-taper, broad shoulder look. I'm like, all right, fine.
Okay.
So that was 2014. In May of 14, I weighed 170 when I started my training. Fairly lean. I forgot what my body fat was, but it was about 170. I trained for 2.5 months, and he tweaked my routine. I was doing, like, at the time before, just a half-hour cardio 3-4 days a week, but I was on point with my diet 7 days a week. Now he's telling me do an hour half-hour every day.
Mm-hmm.
Half hour in the morning, because you want to you want to get tight. You want to shed that fat off. So I did. So I trained for 2.5 months. By the time I weighed myself a week before my show, he tested my body fat. I was at 151 at 2.8% body fat.
Yeah, you're shredded.
2.8% body fat. I was like, now that's the body fat that Stallone was when he did Rocky 3, if you recall. That's the same bite. Believe it or not, that was the same exact percentage
You're
he was
hilarious
at when he did that.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I was like, whoa. So I do the show. I'm up against 7 guys. And, when I was doing the prejudging, they kept calling my number. When they call your number, they want you in the middle. That means they're looking at you. And they called me 3 times.
And this is at a specific weight class, or is this?
No, with Physique, they don't.
Yeah.
Physique, they don't do weight class. They don't do weight class. They just stack you up with whoever's in the Physique, and that's who you're going up against.
Per city or per state? How does that work as well?
As far as this organization works, you can be. Everyone comes to like this show was held in Elmwood Park.
Okay.
So everyone from whatever state knows about this show who does the organization flies out there or drives or whatever it is.
My neck of the woods. Okay.
Yeah.
I used to live in Melrose. All right. Nice.
Yeah. This show was held at Holy Cross.
Holy Cross High School.
Yeah. Which became Guerin Prep. It was held there.
Okay.
That's where it was at.
Sure.
And there were just 7 of us, and some guys look bigger than me, but you get to a point where you have an eye. You can tell who's going to be your biggest competition. You can just tell by looking at people who's really conditioned, who's not. You can just tell.
Of course.
So I get off. We did the prejudging. I was on stage for 15 minutes with these guys. Now, when you're doing the prejudging, you got to smile, do your posing. Posing is very. Which is my next topic, real quick. Posing. Yeah,
I want to get into that.
Posing is very important.
Let me ask you something real quick, Ronnie, before you get into that. A lot of people, as we know, we watch the Mr. Olympia. Could be, like we said, the Arnold Classic or many other shows. Is the show you're doing identical to that, just natural? Are you doing a song, a 3-minute on stage presentation?
That's just for body. That's just for bodybuilding only. Physique.
What's Physique?
Physique is, like I said, is the California look.
Right, but I'm saying when you're performing, when you're competing,
when you're performing, you're doing the same posing as bodybuilding, except for maybe like 1 or 2 poses. And then when you go on stage for the night show, you're just doing a couple of mandatory posing. And that's really it. There's no individual with the song and the way the bodybuilders do it. That's separate.
So it's always as a group setting. You're
pretty
saying,
yeah.
Okay.
You get 2 seconds up by yourself on stage when they're calling your name. You go off stage, then you go back on with everybody else. It's really quick.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Look at you hydrating up.
That's my protein shake. It's my 3rd meal for the day.
It never ends with you. Go ahead.
No, it doesn't. So there were 7 of us, and all my friends before the show was like, "Oh, you got this. You won. And like, you're sure? You won. Don't worry about it." And I'm like, "Okay, we'll see what happens." So there were 7 of us, and they went 7, 6, 5, 4, and then it came down to me and this one guy. And I thought this guy looked pretty good too, but they called me first place. I won my pro card.
Wow.
2014. I couldn't believe. I had no expression on my face. Like, I know.
Shocked.
I was beyond shocked. They called
That's
me.
this photo, right? Is it on? Can you see?
This is actually, I see it, but this is actually 2016.
Oh, okay.
This is when I won. This is the last show I've done. I haven't done a show since yet.
Okay.
This is when I won Illinois State in 2016. So 2 years prior is when my first turned pro. This show in Illinois State was me just maintaining my pro card, and
yeah,
I'll get into that later. But when they called my name, I really, really could not believe it. And I was most proud of this show because, one, I've been competing since '06, but this time I had good competition, worked my ass off to train the way I did, and I came out on top. You know,
for sure.
That was just.
I'm proud of you, dude. I'm proud
of you.
Thank you. No
say
joke.
Now that I turned pro,
that.
thank you. I mean, competing that was 8 years in working these shows, and to finally turn pro, 28. You know, hell, I got emotional when I got off stage. I just couldn't believe it. My dad told me he got up and left the auditorium. He couldn't.
He had a breakdown.
He had to hold himself in. He couldn't handle it.
He had to have a nervous breakdown. I love that guy.
Oh, he couldn't.
He had to cry all the way home.
Oh, he couldn't believe it.
Right.
And also, it was very important because my mother was there, and she was sick at the time.
Yeah.
So for her to see me graduate college a few months earlier and to see me turn pro, she's been to all my shows. So for her to see me turn pro in my last show, that was a lot. That meant a lot to me, after the fact, too. But yeah, I won that show, and I've been doing Physique ever since now. And I was going to do a show this past April, but now because of what's going on, they naturally canceled it. So hopefully for next year I can compete again. But
Ronnie, tell me, what is the benefit of becoming a pro? In that
when you turn pro now you have the opportunity now to win money in these shows.
Okay.
So for example, with Illinois State, once again trained, doing this and that, you never know your competition until you get there. Mm-hmm. Unless you want to try calling the organization a week before just to get an idea. I get there, and I was the only competitor in that show, unfortunately. The way it works is when you turn pro, the catch is you can win money now, but the catch is you need 5 pro competitors to compete for top 3 to win any type of prize money.
Gotcha.
If there's less than 4, if there's 4 or less than 5, you don't win. Now you get the recognition of being in their magazines. They know that you competed, and you're in the books for that show with that organization. So that's pretty much it. Then you have the opportunity if you want to get sponsored by other organizations, like other supplement or protein companies.
Sure.
Want to promote the product for you. That's the overall gist of it once you turn pro. They do have their own natural Olympia shows in Vegas. The one guy I went up against the year before that, he won the whole physique. He won $4,000 plus a car out in Vegas.
That's nice.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So maybe one day I would like to do that, compete in the Olympia show.
Sure.
But, one thing at a time. But yeah,
it's a lot of hard work.
People don't realize, people sometimes don't think of this as like a sport. Oh no, what's a sport? But it's an individual. It is an individual sport.
Right.
Even though you can be going there with a team, team so-and-so, team so-and-so, you're out there by yourself.
Absolutely.
And you'll know whether you put in the work or not when you're on stage. Come the day of that competition, if you wake up in that morning and you don't look as conditioned as you should be, as tight as you should be, you didn't do all you could do.
Right.
I tell people all the time when they're competing, you got to really think hard to really want to do this, because you got to think about what you're going to sacrifice. Really, the work you're going to put into this, because the working out is the easy part. It's the mental state of actually preparing yourself for the strict regimen you're going to have to do, the posing you got to do, all the practicing you got to do. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, and you're getting exposed. If you want to talk about being exposed.
Yeah, you're going on stage. When you go on stage, that is your 5 minutes to show off. That is your time to get that 5 minutes showing off. So you better look as best as you can.
Yeah,
So
I grew up in the 80s, 90s era of bodybuilding, which I love very much. I guess you could say the Lee Haney days, Rich Kaspari days, which then kind of became the Dorian Yates days. You know, I loved bodybuilding back then. Here's the thing with me: as I scarred my stomach got scarred as a baby, real bad. I pulled hot water on me, so I'm all scarred. So I knew I never wanted to be a bodybuilder because it looked disfigured. Let's just say,
yeah.
and I didn't want to diet. After wrestling many years, I didn't like dieting. And
Hmm.
I like powerlifting to a certain degree, but my main focus was just wanting to be big. Now, I went to some bodybuilding shows, and for some reason, I didn't gravitate towards enjoying them that much. I just got very bored. But what I did love is magazines and watching videos, say Dorian Yates workout, like in his dungeon, watching Lee Haney's workouts on, let's say, ESPN. And that, I like that.
Hmm.
But I didn't like necessarily bodybuilding. I found it quite boring. But I'm a gym rat. I was always in the gym. I loved the lifting weights. You would have thought they
Yeah.
would have blended together, but they didn't. A lot of my friends ended up becoming amateur bodybuilders or pro bodybuilders even. And I hate to say this, a lot of guys I knew in bodybuilding that wanted to make it a living were broke. And I never wanted to be broke, either between their food, all their supplements, obviously steroids. I'm talking the high level guys,
Yeah.
traveling and all that. Only top tier people really made money in that industry. And you were only good as the year you were in it. So if you got injured, you're burned. Like most of these guys were bouncers. I knew some did semi-professional wrestling, like, you know, like WWE or whatever. They did local stuff. But I just found it was quite interesting because everybody thought I wanted to be a bodybuilder. And I said, no, I don't want to be a bodybuilder. I just love lifting heavy weights and being big. It's not even about being ripped. It's not even about being in great shape. I have my own perspective, which is quite
Yeah.
interesting. The more I talk
Hmm.
about it out loud.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, you getting your pro card and you being a trainer, has that obviously helped you out tremendously, that exposure?
It has in its own right. You know, I've been training now full time since 2018, and I've been training people anywhere from 20 to 40 different people in the last year and a half. I'm actually now at a point where I'm going independent with all my clients. I had things set up before this happened with this guy who owns his own fitness studio, and I was going to go independent and just do my own thing and just be my own boss. I'm at a point in my life where I want to be my own boss and train my way and do things my way. But it does help. It helps with my job because, you know, I show people my before and after pictures, and people love it. But sometimes they get the impression, oh, I want them to look like this, and I tell them, listen, I'm showing these pictures for a reason. It's not because I think this is how you need to look. This was my goal. This is the way I looked like before, and this is the after. My point to showing you these pictures is, if you really want to look a certain way, you know, you got to follow certain guidelines. So what I tell my clients is, I want you to follow like my guidelines to the best of your ability. But I don't expect you to look like this. I'm not expecting you to compete. That's my goal. Your goal is totally different. Most of who I train just overall want to be just fit and healthy for themselves and for their families, which is fine. You know, I'm not gonna lie. I don't train no one for competitions. I really don't. I train people just to stay fit, healthy, and teach them as many nutrition tips as I possibly can. You know, so they're very relieved when I tell them that, because they think when I show them my before and after pictures from when I'm competing, they think, oh, I gotta look like this. No, you don't. But the formula of eating a certain way, knowing how many calories you should have on a daily basis, and how you should work out, that I do want you to follow, because it will work. It'll take time, but it'll work. So having my, you know, I'm just saying, being, you know, I tell them, being overweight myself growing up, I can relate to what people are going through and the struggles and the frustrations they have. I know how to speak to those individuals. So that alone helps me tremendously.
Let's kind of get into your training program, because you were kind of a little bit like myself. Well, I'm a lot older than you, actually. I'm older than you, let's put it that way. But you started off with just bodybuilding, and now that CrossFit has come into play, and other type of fitness, and even locations, Orange Theory, hypothetically, like they're taking on a different aspect. Equinox, different type of training, possibly, if you go there. LA Fitness, 24-hour fitness. all, cycling's gotten more and more popular. Crew's starting to come out more and more. What are you training people to do now? Is it more bodybuilding or just lose weight, or are you incorporating CrossFit? What are you doing?
Bodybuilding, no. I've not met anyone who's been interested in that, and which is okay. I target people who are just trying to stay fit and healthy, whether it's trying to get ripped or just simply lean up and tone.
Gotcha.
So I'll do a lot of old-fashioned. I'll do a lot of bodybuilding workouts, with weights and machines, but then also incorporate some TRX training, hit circuit training, things like that. Sometimes I'll take my clients outside and we'll do a full body circuit. Pretty much things like that. And with that, I tell them, I recommend them, as far as, eating goes, what they should be eating as well. But as far as my training, it's just, like functional training, resistance, body weight, TRX, and boot camp style workouts.
I got you. Are you hosting classes? Is that what you do too?
Yeah. I'll do that like on Saturdays in the summertime. I started last year with some of my clients selectively, from like June to October, every Saturday, half hour, we'll meet somewhere for a half hour and just do a full body workout, boot camp, body weights and things like that.
How are you eating now? So you haven't done a show in a while. Now we're going through coronavirus, and I know, you're drinking what are you drinking right now?
Protein shake.
Protein shake. Yeah. So do you have an on time and off time? Are you basically on the same type of, I don't want to say diet, but the same type of food regimen, day to day, month to month?
Now you say the word diet. I don't really say diet much anymore.
Right.
It's gotten to the point where I tell people this is now just my lifestyle. This is second nature to me.
Sure.
I know a lot of competitors who they look great for the show. You see them a month later, they're back on 40, 50 pounds. You thought they never competed a day in their life. Me being me, remembering how I was as a kid, I never want to go back to looking like that ever in my life. So in my off season, I get back to a certain healthier weight, like 170. I live with 175. I'm 180 right now. I'm trying to shed a little more, but I followed my regimen year round. But I allow myself now cheat meals in the off season. Mm-hmm. Usually I cut off Friday night, all day Saturday as like a freebie. I'll eat whatever I want. I'll have, pizza, pasta, a glass of wine or beer, whatever it is. Then Monday, I'm right back on it. Because you got to have that release. I don't care who you are, what you do. You can't be pure 365 a year. It's unreasonable. It's not good for you. There is such a thing as being too strict. So I like, during the week I follow my regimen. I eat 5-6 meals a day. 2 of them are shakes. I meal prep twice a week. I'll spend a couple hours each time making my turkey burgers, my chicken breast, my vegetables, fish, things like that. And that's what I'm eating a week. Come Saturday, hey, I'll take a pizza right now, please. Thank you.
Right.
You have to. And then Monday I'm right back on it.
I want to ask you something regarding staying all natural, because I grew up around a lot of steroids, a lot of drugs in general, especially in the 70s. My father owned a nightclub, so a lot of people were on drugs. You'd see them taking drugs. And then when I started to work out, especially in Florida, I used to do summer school in Florida. So in Chicago, really in the gyms, there weren't many. There was like Valley, YMCA, like fitness centers, but like civic centers, I guess you could say. And there weren't really any hardcore bodybuilders. When I was coming to Florida in the summer, I was coming to Orlando, which was a hub for a lot of drug dealing for steroids, let's just say, for the universities, for the shows, for a lot of different things. And I was around a lot of people that took steroids. I was deathly afraid of needles, and I don't like taking pills. And I think that's the only thing that really made me not take steroids. I wasn't against steroids. I wasn't for them. I was just afraid. I didn't trust what I was buying, let's just say. And I didn't trust the people giving them to me. But I got pretty big and strong, and I always was natural. And a lot of people thought I was on steroids my whole life. In your case, what made you choose to say, I'm going to go clean entirely instead of trying anything?
Because I chose the natural way, because I didn't want to really experience what steroids would possibly do to me.
Mm.
I'm not necessarily against steroids, but the problem is most of the time, most people abuse.
Yeah, I agree.
They abuse the hell out of it. First of all, people abuse supplements in general. Like, first of all, there are natural supplements out there, your BCAAs, your fat burn, pre-workouts, but when you abuse that stuff, it's going to harm you just as much as if you were taking a steroid. It doesn't matter. Too much of anything is no good anyway. But that being said, I just simply wanted to try everything. I've always been a firm believer you can achieve what you want to achieve the natural way. You can, okay? I never believed that, if you don't take steroids, you won't get shredded. If you don't take steroids, you won't get it. I find it to be BS. Mm. It's been proven by others and by myself that if you see in that picture behind you or my other pictures, you can get shredded and have good size and strength by being natural, taking good supplements that are good for the body, and just being on point with your eating.
Right.
That's why I didn't want to. I was offered. Listen, at Bally's, I was offered steroids many times, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm looking at you, and like, okay, what you're taking is not working for you. I can tell by looking at you. So why am I even going to bother?
I felt the same way. I didn't like the way guys looked on juice. A lot of them, not only acne, but this goes back to even they were balding. I ended up bald, but they were balding back then. But their skin, and I didn't like the fluctuation of size. Because I realized a lot of my buddies that I'd even work out with, their strength fluctuated so much drastically. Huge gains and then huge losses. I'm like, I couldn't emotionally take. I'd be so aggravated. And I discussed this before regarding, a lot of times people don't think about how hard it is to hold mass or hold strength or hold muscle. A lot of people only look at like losing weight. Let's say, for instance, a lot of people say, I can't lose weight, right? It was very hard for me to gain weight and hold it. And I think a lot of people take steroids because they want to gain that weight. They're not naturally gaining it, which I understood that aspect of it. But again, I didn't like seeing guys that would gain 20, 30 pounds and then in 6 months lose 15 of it. And then their skin it just looked distorted a lot of times. Yeah. Anyways, that was what I went.
Well, and now, especially, back in the 70s and 80s, most steroids consisted of like, just certain basic things like, like D-ball was one of it and a couple other things. Today, there is so much more out there. There's so much more drugs acceptable now that when you look at the bodybuilders of today, I don't like the way they look.
They're massive.
They look disgusting. I'm sorry, they really do. In my humble opinion, you see their abs, but they had that gut like look. It just looks disgusting. I think of like Sergio Oliva, Schwarzenegger, those guys. They looked good. They were big. They were cut, but they had that V-tape look. The broad shoulders, the tiny waist. That looks more like a bodybuilder to me. Not the way these guys are looking like today, in my opinion.
Right.
I think it's gotten out of control. So.
Yeah, and I also think genetics comes into play regarding, since we're on this subject, people are like, Rich, we don't have your genetics, hypothetically. We can't gain as much weight as you or look the way you look or get as strong as you did. Because I was very fortunate, I will say, for what I've been given, I had great genetics. If I was maybe given other genetics that weren't giving me any type of results that I wanted, I may have a different perspective on it too, taking steroids or taking anything.
Yeah, and with me, I never thought I really could look the way I became. I naturally, I wanted to lose weight and get in shape and be healthy, but I never thought I could really achieve that cut look. I didn't think I can do it, but I want to say my having good genes from my parents definitely has helped me. But at the same time, I train my ass off too. At the same time,
sure. Absolutely. It's a long road. That's the bottom line. People want a shortcut for what it is too, a lot of times.
Yeah, well, you want the shortcuts, you're going to regret it later.
A lot of people, especially I'm 50 now, and they'll ask me, hey, Rich, how do I, or how did you get in this shape or this? I said, it took me decades. I'm not saying it takes decades to get to where I'm at. But
it takes years to build a body.
Exactly. And you got to look at the long term of it. And also not what you look like now. What are you going to look like in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? What do you want to look like? How do you want to feel? And a lot of people, I don't think, realize that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you something now, because you've been working out a long time. And now that I'm where I'm at my age, I can't say I've been very fortunate, but I am having some problems with my joints, tendons, because of lifting weights, especially heavy weights, for decades, doing hundreds of thousands of different reps and sets. How are you feeling physically at your age? Because what are you now, 30 what?
I'll be 34 in July.
Okay. How are you feeling? Because this has been 20 years probably, if I'm not around there, you've been hitting it?
It's been about 20 years now. And, you know, I still feel as good as I did even 10, 15 years ago. You know, my strength is still pretty good. I'm at a point right now, I'm just, you know, trying to maintain size. I'm not really trying to get bigger at the moment. I'm just trying to shed about 10 more pounds and just maintain. But as far as my strength and endurance is still pretty good. I mean, you know, I do know that, you know, like people, you know, like you, like me, whoever, as we get older, you know, our bodies will take a toll on this stuff. So
Sure.
I know that I will get to a point where maybe in the next 20 years that I won't lift as heavy as I am now. You know, you get to a point where then you just want to just maintain, you know, light heavyweight and just keep a good physique.
Yeah.
You know, you will keep strength, but you get to the point where now you just want to just maintain, because you get to a point where there's something more to prove. We already proved it. Now I just want to just maintain, have my strength, look good, and be healthy.
So you get, you know, you do this for a living, obviously you're a trainer, but what keeps you still like interested besides the money to keep doing this? Because I know sometimes it has to get, and it does for me too, it gets redundant. And it gets exhausting talking about fitness or working out or even going to the gym every day. I was never a trainer. And one of the reasons I went once to maybe possibly think about it when I was younger, and I was in the gym all day for a couple of days. It was actually in between making films at the Valley on Army Trail Road. I used to work out at your Schaumburg Valley too. It's now an LA Fitness. So I went there just to do part-time, and I knew the people. They're like, Rich, come on in, and maybe you'll start off with sales. And I know I was making a film, so we were shooting at night. But I went there and I said, you know, fitness is an escape for me. As soon as I found myself doing it for like long periods of time, or being in the gym for a long period of time, I was going crazy, because my whole life was just coming in for 2 hours and getting out. Now I'm sitting here for 8 hours. Plus now I can't stop talking about it, where I didn't have that break, where I used to look forward to, you know, going to work out, where now I was starting to dread it, because I'm like, oh my God, I got to go sit in this gym for 8 hours. How do you deal with that?
Being that, you know, speaking for myself, being that, you know, fitness is in my blood. It's my passion. I enjoy educating people the best I can about health and nutrition and trying to achieve a goal. I sympathize with those who are struggling to trying to do it, because I've been there. Mm-hmm. It's just something that in me that I enjoy more than anything.
Right.
So that alone just keeps me going every day and doing what I do. Even though I do have my moments of, I'm in this gym all day and this and that, you know,
Sure.
I have my moments, you know, like anyone. I mean, everyone loves their job, but you will have your days where like, oh, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. That comes with the territory. But I truly enjoy educating an individual and helping those achieve what they're trying to achieve. And I know what it feels like to be lost, not knowing which direction to go or how to start it. And that's where I come in. And, you know,
it's got to be very rewarding when you help these people and you see results, obviously.
It does. It feels really good when my clients say, you know, thank you for helping, because, you know, they know I'm very sincere when I'm helping them. And I'm, which I am. I'm not doing it just because they're paying me. You know, that is, I mean, yeah, this is how I make my living, but it's more than that. I truly am passionate about really helping them achieve that goal, because I know what they're going through.
Yeah.
I've been there. I know what they're going through. I lived it. So I know.
I agree. You definitely lived it. So let's fast forward here. What do you think a little bit about you're going to start a YouTube channel? A lot of trainers have, besides you just going into business for yourself and training people, you probably want to start reaching maybe more people. What's kind of the next phase for you besides just training?
toying with the idea of like, getting involved with online training.
Okay.
In addition to, working in the gym, I'm trying to look into some more with that, possibly do a YouTube channel as well. So I'm toying with a couple different ideas right now, but that'd be my next phase with going independent is, try and get involved with some online as well for those who don't want to come into a gym because don't want to be around others, and
Sure.
try to help them online because, a lot of people are like that. They don't want to be around people. They feel uncomfortable, awkward. So look into that as well.
What gym are you at now? Export?
No, I left Export a couple of years ago. I was working for this gym in Downers Grove, and I just came across this other fitness studio not far from where I was currently working.
And that's the one you're going to that you said earlier.
Go to now, and I have total control, which I love. I'm at a point where I don't want to like work answering nobody.
Sure.
I want to just do my thing, train my clients, be my own person, and go home. That's it.
What type of gym is that, if you don't mind me asking? Is it more of
It's a fitness? It's like a fitness studio, independently owned by this guy for over 20 years. He just hires independent people. He brings their clients and use my facility, and we work out a percentage between the two of us and do your thing.
Wow, that's great. You going to be doing anything else besides, say, training for shows? Do you do anything else now? Do you do running? You're going to do marathons? You think you'll ever go in another direction?
Well, I like to dabble in trying a marathon once in my life. I never done one. I've always liked to run, so I wouldn't mind trying like a 5K down the road. Start off with that, and go from there. But as of right now, I'm still want to just train people, but run things my way.
Absolutely.
And dabble whatever I can more a bit in the future.
Gotcha. You got a website? What do you got? Tell the people where they could find you.
Actually, I'm in the process of developing a website, but they can find me on Instagram and Facebook. Ronnie Peccia PNBA Pro on Facebook, and RVP Fit on Instagram.
Yeah, I'll put your information on there as well. And it was great seeing you at the wedding. I was so excited when I saw you.
Oh yeah, that was a blast.
Yeah, that was good. And my girlfriend Ria's like, he's got that, he's fit. Like people, because when someone sees somebody who's as tapered as you are, even wearing a suit, it's, especially in Chicago, there's a lot of overweight dudes. Nothing against Chicago, but we all know what that looks like.
Oh, we all know. Please, please, I crave a Gene and Juice hot dog all the time, but I go there maybe like twice a year, if that.
Where you go, Gene and Jude? You said?
What did you just say? Yeah, Gene and Jude's. I mean,
you love it over there?
It's very hard for me not to go there sometimes, but I control myself.
I grew up right down the street from Gene and Jude's. I wasn't a Gene and Jude's guy. I was more because our family were related to the Bono Beefs, and then we hung out at Portillo's, but we'd go to Elmwood Park. We were on Harlem Avenue all the time.
Oh, yeah.
My family was from Cicero, so we'd hit Freddy's, but I kind of got out of the hot dog thing and mainly was a beef and sausage guy. Still am.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I tell people when they first meet me, contrary to popular opinion of how I look, I love food. I eat everything.
Me too.
I just wait for the weekends for that stuff, and then do what I do during the week. So
I used to say one of the reasons I worked out as hard as I did was because I wanted to eat whatever I want to eat.
Exactly. That's how I thought.
Yeah.
But then I learned more like
Yeah. As I'm getting older, though, I definitely portion control in the times you're eating mean a lot, and people don't realize it, or what you do after you eat. Even if you go for a 2 mile walk, for instance, after a dinner, is huge compared to eating dinner and then sitting on the couch for 3 hours, right? And then having a snack, then going to bed for 10 hours or 9 hours and getting up and having an omelet and then.
Exactly.
So,
I tell people in general, as far as, just trying to stay healthy in general, even if you're not really a big on the weights, that's okay.
Yeah.
But just do something.
Exactly.
Go for a walk.
That's my thing.
Ride a bike. Go swimming. Just do, try to do something active as best you can. But if you are into weight training, if you did really just 3 days a week, 20 minutes of cardio, for 20 minutes, and hit the weights for about 40, 45 minutes, and watch your eating, you'll be fine. That's all you need.
You got to find what you love. The bottom line, are you never going to stick with it? And a lot of times, like you said, weights may not be it. It may be running. It may be cycling. It may be things we don't even know. It could be.
That's okay.
Yeah, you could go play tennis. You could go play volleyball. You got to figure it out. And I've been doing a lot of videos on people, especially middle-aged, not having really anything to do with fitness in their past doesn't mean they can't evolve and have a great, second chapter of their life, or whatever you want to say.
Absolutely.
Healthier than what they had in the first chapter.
You just want to stay mobile. Just keep moving. Do something.
Fluency. Exactly. Well, thank you for being on here. I loved having you as a guest. I loved the young guys that I used to know, and you stuck with it. And I mean, you're an inspiration to a lot of people, I think, too. My cousin Michelle, as you know, Cifaldi, I did one with her as well. I just posted it.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, she's involved with it too. And I knew I had to have you too. And I just remember seeing you again. I'm like, I got to get Ronnie on this damn podcast as soon as I can. So thank you again.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. And hey, I'll do more with you if you want. Just call me. I'm available.
For sure. I'm going to start doing follow-ups, and maybe we'll just take on certain subject matters. It could be your meal prep, for instance. Yeah. Because I know you're really into that, and nutrition, and then whatever maybe next what you're doing as far as training people. We could attack that as well. Be a little more specific, but I definitely wanted to introduce you to at least my fan base, or whoever watches my videos, not only on my podcast, but YouTube as well. So I'm using this picture for the cover photo because that's dope. I love that picture.
Thank you.
All right, my friend. I will talk to you later.
All right, everybody. Talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
You too.
All right. Bye.